Hello and welcome to this special edition of Candy's Kitchen. I'm Candy, and today you are going to keep me company while I prepare a rattlesnake supper. So here in the bottom of my fridge we have a rattlesnake. Let's bring him on out. I've never done this before. As far as I know, this is going to be a complete flop or I'm going to faint or something. But I consider it an experience, so if it works out, then we will have rattlesnake supper. If not, then I will say, oh well, I gave it my best shot. So if this turns out, we're going to have some rattlesnake, and on the side probably some baked potatoes. So I got to get these into the oven to bake. So let's do that right now. And I better set my trusty timer. And so we're going to have rattlesnake, baked potatoes, and cowboy beans, which I have going in my crock pot. Steamy. The cowboy beans smell absolutely delicious, by the way. So I need to get this snake ready. I'm going to probably set this camera on the tripod, and this is going to double as a science experiment and a dissection with my kids. So I'm going to stick this camera on the tripod and probably just give you this video in clips because frankly I don't want to get snake guts on the camera. Alright, I have my two oldest with me. My two younger children are taking naps, so I'll probably just show them the video if they're interested. Now, this snake was frozen for a day and then thawed in the refrigerator, so if it had any mites on it, the mites should be dead. Now, he's going to be quite heavy and he's going to be fat. Vipers are fat. And the scales, let me throw this away, the scales are chelated, so it's rough. It's not going to feel like a rubber snake. Oh, goody, we have the rattle. Do you want to see the rattle?
Our first rattle.
Here's the rattle. You guys want to hear it rattle, kids? Can you hear that? Do you see that in the field? Step away or grab a shovel and decapitate it. This snake looks like he was probably attacked with the shovel. That's a very common way to get them. He was caught and killed by a friend when he was out working on his farm. He knew that I was interested in trying to cook rattlesnake, so he sent his daughter, who's my age. She's awesome, and she brought it on over to me. Let's get started. First of all, sometimes I can tell gender of a snake by looking at it. I'm not going to stick anything through the anal vent and see if there's any hemipenes, or whatever they call it. But sometimes you can tell by looking. I would say this one is probably a male. Alright, so here's a bit how you can tell. That's the anal vent. Yes, that's its rear end. And from the anal vent, you see this, guys? See this, kids? From the anal vent, it goes smooth. When it's a female, there's usually a sudden dip or a bump. Usually a sudden dip. Okay, so this is probably a male. And sometimes you can get an idea of how old they are from how many rattles are on the rattle, but that's not very accurate. This one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rattles on the rattle. Well, he's getting a little bloody here. So let's get started. I'm going to start by I'm going to cut it right about here. And I want to try to get through the bone if I can. If not, I'll just leave it there for later. Alright. Now, the anal vent is a good place to start cutting the skin. Alright? So, there's a certain joke about ripping a new one. Let's not get into that right now. And his skin is tough. I'm going to say his because I'm fairly convinced it's a male. And I might accidentally find out as I poke around. Alright. And the knife I'm using is just a basic meat or gutting knife. Basically used to gut fish, but I'm going to use it for this. So this is going to take me a while because he's got some tough skin. And I want to cut him somewhat neatly because I might save the skin. I'm still deciding. So I'm going to click off the video and then I'll click back on after I have the de-skinning. Alright, I now have 3 out of my 4 children. My youngest is still sleeping. who are watching this, and my oldest is now the one turning the camera off and on because my hands are getting a little bit bloody. Definitely not going to tan this skin because I can tell I need practice skinning the snake, but here is its skin. Oh, isn't that gorgeous though? That's beautiful. Alright, so I got all the skin off, so I'm going to set this aside here, I think, in my bowl. And now I am to the next step. It took a little bit while, don't touch it, okay, sweetie? It took a little bit of a while to skin it because this snake is really fit. He had good strong muscles, which means the fascia, there was a lot of tough fascia. So what I did is I gently slid it up here, which also cut him open. I didn't puncture the organs, so I was careful. That's what took me a while. After I slid him all the way up, then I just peeled the skin back, cut the fascia, and then pulled it off like I was undressing him. Ladies, I've got to tell you something. This looks a lot grosser when you're watching it than when you're actually doing it. I feel just like I'm cutting up a raw chicken. No big deal, so don't freak out. It's really not as bad as it looks in video and picture. So now I'm going to go ahead and gut the snake. So we will click back on here in a few minutes. Alright, go ahead and push the red button, kiddo. Gutting, I had to do patiently because, again, the fascia was really connecting the organs in. So I just moved my finger along the side of the organs, would bring up some fascia and then cut. Move my finger along the side, bring up some fascia and cut. I was very careful. I did not want to puncture the organs, especially the gallbladder and the bowel and the stomach. So the camera's on a tripod. I'm not going to try to move it, but right here is the gallbladder. It's not punctured, but I'm not going to pick it up and chance puncturing it. Alright, so we have the gallbladder, and then here is the liver. Alright, so gallbladder, liver. When we got to the stomach, I found out why the snake was so fat. He had eaten a mouse just before his death. It's still fresh. There is a long mouse. Could even be a little rat, but probably it's a big mouse. I don't know, it's pretty big. Could have been a rat in there. I could still make out its fur and its hands and everything. I am not going to cut open the stomach to look, but yeah, that is hardly digested at all. Please stay out of the way of the camera, sweetie. Alright, and then next we came to a whole bunch of intestines and then the bowel and all that fun stuff. So the kids and we dissected. I explained to them each organ, and they did really good. My 5-year-old had to leave the room for about 2 minutes, and then he came back and was fine and wanted to watch the rest. So now here's what we're down to. Meat and bone. So in a minute I'm going to have my oldest, why don't you come on by the camera, kiddo, I'm going to have my oldest turn this off, and I'm going to bring the snake meat and bone to the sink, and I'm going to rinse it off and rinse out the innards. And then after that it'll be time to get the meat off the bone. And he was a lot of mouse inside his tummy and a lot of organs, so we'll see how much meat we get off this critter. Okay, go ahead and push the red button. Oh, he ate a mouse! Could you, yeah, I can see it.
Oh, it looks like this rattlesnake.
He ate a mouse. I can see it through its stomach.
Well, we got a mouse from a friend of ours, and it appears...
A rattlesnake?
I mean, yeah, a rattlesnake. And it appears it ate a mouse.
Yes, you can see it. That's its stomach. Get that fascia out of the way.
Right. It's our friend left the rattler on it for us. I see.
Okay, coming up to the intestines.
You got the liver and gallbladder out of the way already.
Yeah.
I'm glad Mom's not afraid of getting a little bloody.
My oh boy, he ate like right before he died. if we were to cut open the stomach, which I'm not going to do, because it would probably stink, you would find a mouse. I can still see its fur and everything.
Wow.
Okay, now we're up to the intestines. So all the stuff that looks like worm. Okay, you don't have to watch if you get grossed out. The worm-looking stuff are intestines.
Cool.
So, I'm trying not to puncture anything. I'm just reaching through, grabbing fascia, and cutting.
And the gallbladder's right there.
Gallbladder.
Yeah, she already got it
There's
down.
the liver.
Liver.
There's the stomach. I'm on the intestines. It's a strong piece of fascia.
Yeah.
This was a strong, fit, healthy rattler.
So first, Mom's gonna make fried rattlesnake.
We're gonna have breaded and fried rattlesnake, cowboy beans, and potatoes on the side.
Doesn't that sound yummy?
I hear it tastes like chicken, so we'll find out first-handed.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this the first time you ever tried to rattle, Mom?
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever skinned or gut anything. I've never even done a fish before.
You did?
No.
Now take a look at something. You see its skin. Doesn't it look a bit like it's feathery?
The scales, that's because the scales are keeled, and it's actually, don't touch it because it's dirty, but the scales are rough. It's closer to sandpaper. It does not feel like a rubber snake. So different kinds of snakes have different kinds of scales. You can have keeled scales, which is what rattlesnakes and bull snakes have, or you can have the non-keeled scales, which snakes such as king snakes have. The non-keeled scales. Alright, I have the snake all rinsed off, and here is the main meat I'll be working with. Here's the inside. So we got the backbone and the meat, and here's the pretty side. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to grab my meat knife and I'm going to chop it into manageable portions, and then I'm going to fry it. So, I'm going to get started. And it's going to take a while because I have to go through the bone. Alright, kiddo, why don't you go and push the red button, and then we will turn the video back on in a little bit, and you can see what we've done. Alright, I just got my hands freshly washed, so here's the cut up snake meat. Here's a bowl where I kind of, put the skin, and there's a knife and paper towel, and there's the innards, and I'm going to work on probably getting that rattle off here in a little bit. And there's the stomach I was talking about, where there is a large mouse or small rat that's barely digested at all. That right there is the liver. The greenish thingy right there is a gallbladder. And then we have intestines and bowel. So that's all the innards, and this has made a fascinating science project with the kids. So I'm going to go ahead and fry it up. I'm going to make up some breading and fry it in the frying pan, and then serve this up on the side with my cowboy beans and baked potatoes, and I will show you our supper once it's ready. And here is supper. We've got baked potato, some cowboy beans, and some breaded and fried rattlesnake. After supper, I'll let you know what we thought of the rattlesnake. Okay, here's what a piece of the cooked meat looks like without the breading on it. And we've had some. It's a strong tasting meat. It's like a mix between pork and chicken, but strong, and it's really good. Good stuff. You should try it.